Oh. Okay.
Cool.
We're live.
We are live. Finally.
Let's try this again.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
So we didn't realize last time we were doing this that the sound was all messed up because things were set up kind of funny, and we actually have the sound going through like multiple things. So we decided that we should probably redo this video.
Let's redo it.
So here we are.
Okay.
Woo!
Alcohol and Analytics.
Alcohol and Analytics.
Episode 3, round 2.
Yeah.
And we've actually switched. Well, I guess I switched alcohol.
to whiskey. I still have a mimosa.
Yeah.
We had a break. We had quiche. So like we're all set. We're good to go.
Living life.
Oh yeah.
I should have brought down the alcohol. Oh well.
You probably should have.
Too late now. I'm already into it.
Okay. So welcome to Alcohol and Analytics, where we talk about alcohol. Or we talk about. Oh no, this is really bad. Okay,
After an hour.
Yeah. Okay, we talk about analytics while drinking alcohol because it's fun. So my name is Sagan. I am a small business strategist and blogger at saganmow.com.
And I'm Dan Nicholson. I am a Google AdWords, Google Analytics analyst for CoffeePowered Analytics, which is my own business. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so please let us know if the sound isn't working or if there are any problems, and we'll
Obviously attempt it again.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it until we get it right.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully this will actually work. But please do let us know if there's a problem. Have you muted that?
No, I'm not hooked up to that.
Oh, okay, we're good. Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so we're all set. So, we have done a couple of alcohol and analytics sessions in the past. It was last summer that we started doing them. So we did, I think, like 2 of them at that point. And then we've taken a very extended break for some reason for doing them. So now we're back into it. But basically the idea behind this series is that we want to break down analytics and explain it in a way that is easy for you to understand, because there is so much that goes into dealing with analytics and figuring out, how to best use it for your website if you are a blogger or a small business or what have you. So that's kind of what we're here for. We have a list of questions that I have basically found people talking about and asking about in various Facebook groups. But if you have any questions, let us know. We are happy to answer them. Just drop it in the comments.
Yep.
But let's begin.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us, Dan is like our resident analytics expert, why don't you tell us what is analytics?
Yeah, so that's one thing we never actually kicked off on, was Google Analytics, what it is.
In previous videos, you mean? Yeah.
In previous videos.
Yeah.
So Google Analytics, very interesting tool, because it basically allows you to track any movement on your website. And also on different mediums as well, such as Shopify, if you have a Shopify account and that kind of thing. As you can kind of see here on the left-hand side, I guess, of Sagan, we actually have a real-time screenshot of Google Analytics. This is actually Sagan's website. Mm-hmm. So Google Analytics, I've actually had people ask me, is it very Big Brother-ish? And it isn't really. Because I don't know who specifically you are when it comes to Google Analytics. There are ways of potentially tracking that stuff, but Google Analytics, and Google in general, does not allow for personal information in their software, so you're not allowed to track that stuff. So there is no Big Brother-ish type items. It's mostly just anonymous data that you can use to make a better effort and make changes on your website. Such as your content and your technical know-how and user experience.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's Google Analytics in a nutshell.
Great. Okay. So now we know what analytics is. Mm-hmm. Why should we care? Why bother with analytics?
Why bother?
Very
good question. You got these questions from Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of different Facebook groups I'm in. I feel like people are constantly asking questions about SEO and analytics and all these different things. So yeah, here we have it.
Yeah, why bother? That's a really interesting question. because like I said, Google Analytics can actually teach you more about your website and how people use it. So in the example here, so we've got a real-time view of Sagan's website, and we can actually see specifically what people are looking at. A lot of it is like we got a couple healthy, we got a business tips for solopreneurs, one of the style and beauty items. We can see kind of where people are, Oakland, Dallas, Jefferson City, which is very interesting. So based off this information, we can actually see that a lot of Sagan's traffic is from the States. But I think what we should really consider when, like, why bother about your analytics is because it can tell you so much, especially around what it is that you want to know. Like, what I find with Google Analytics and what's really good with it is that if you ask a question, you can usually manipulate the data in that way to kind of pull that information. So I think the reason why you should bother with it is that, ask a question and then figure out what it is that you can do to make your website better. There's a really good book. Unfortunately, I don't have it down here with me, but it's called Growth Hacker by Ryan Holiday, I believe. Currently reading it right now. Growth hacking is very interesting because you're making small tweaks to your website to try and increase the most reach, basically, on a smaller dollar, especially with a lot of small businesses. You don't have a lot of money for paid advertising. You don't have the typical marketing budget. And so, sorry, we have a cat. Yeah, we don't have the marketing dollars as small businesses, so obviously you got to try and do things that are a little cheaper and freer, if that's actually a word, and free to kind of get that reach. So, yeah, long story short, Google Analytics, bother with it because it'll actually tell you what's happening.
Right. Right. So you can make your website better and find out what people are actually doing with your website and like how they're interacting with it and everything. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Ways that you can make those tweaks in specific pages, which we can probably go into a little bit further as we go through the questions.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay. Okay. So the next question that we had here was, what should I be doing with Google Analytics?
What should I be doing with Google Analytics? That also is a very interesting question. There's a lot of different ways you can use Google Analytics. There's a lot of data. I'm sure if you've ever been into it, it can really overwhelm you. I've found with a lot of people, they get really overwhelmed because it's so much data. But I think what you should be kind of looking at, in my opinion, is your channels. This is one of my favorite one of my favorite sections of Google Analytics once we get it loaded. But basically, it comes down to your goals, and it comes down to what it is that you want to achieve in your business. And so with Sagan, for example, a lot of her stuff is training and being able to bring in new revenue through selling courses, using writing a lot of content for the Healthy blog, style, rhetoric. Am I saying that right? Rhetoric?
Yeah, no, it's rhetoric.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my blog used to be more of a lifestyle blog, so I talked about a lot of different things. And at this point, I only focus on business topics. And my primary, I do a lot of different things with my business right now. I do like freelancing and all kinds of things like that. But the main thing that I am focusing on is my courses and my books. So, basically all of the content that I create at this point somehow ties into the type of courses that I'm creating.
Yep. So, in terms of, sorry, I gotta take a look at the question again. What was it? Sure. It was, so why?
It was, what should I be checking?
Right, okay.
Yeah, what should I be doing with Google Analytics?
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, so I was like, why am I on this page again? So one of my favorite sections in Google Analytics is the channels report under acquisition. Basically, it gives you a quick breakdown of where people are coming from throughout the website, or throughout the web. As we can see here, social media being a very top hit for Sagan's website. And it's Pinterest, if I'm correct.
Yes, Pinterest is my biggest traffic driver.
Which, I mean, if you're not actually sure what your biggest driver of traffic is, you can actually click on this social and you can see a breakdown of basically everything of where people are coming from.
Which, like, I find really interesting because of the amount of time that I personally spend on, say, like, Instagram, right? Like, I spend a lot of my time on Instagram, and it's really interesting to see that, like, the actual amount of traffic driving isn't that great. Although, I mean, there's certainly other benefits of being there, right? Like building community and connecting with people and all of that, even if they aren't actually clicking to my bio and then clicking on links.
Yeah, there's still value in having those images out there. I mean, you're still getting brand awareness.
Yes.
I mean, granted, you can't quite track it as much, but I mean, if you're using Instagram analytics and Instagram for businesses, they have a really good analytics tool now.
Yes, the analytics, I love it for Instagram. It's like, it's very basic and straightforward and simple, but like it covers all these really awesome things. So I haven't seen any. I know that there was a lot of controversy when Instagram for Business came about, and people thought that they might be, you know, penalized for it and that kind of thing. I have not seen any backdraw to having a business account. Granted, I have like 700 followers, so maybe if I had like 7,000, it would be a problem. I don't know if it was, you know, the amount of followers that you had, if that would then pull away, but I have only found benefits from having a business account, so yeah.
Highly recommend it. Especially from your social media channels, you can really use those analytics to kind of get an idea what's working with your content. Google Analytics is basically just another analytics tool. It just tells you what's happening on your website. It's just a part of the channel.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, like, to see Sagan's content right here and kind of the driving traffic. I mean, 6,000 people are coming from Pinterest. Clearly, she's going to want to put her time to Pinterest as opposed to, you know, Google Plus, which is at the bottom.
Which makes a lot of sense because I do not use Google Plus. I use it like once a week when I publish a new article and I post it there.
But another thing, what you should be doing in there, I mean, this is a really good structure, or at least the channels report is very great, because if I move over further, you can see, we don't have it set up for Sagan's website, but you can see an actual, your goals in relation to what's happening on the channel. And so let's say if we had it tied back to her book sales, if someone were to buy on Amazon, and I'm giving you ideas now, if someone were to buy something on Amazon or send traffic to Amazon, for example, we can actually put a potential dollar amount to it and say for every piece of traffic that goes there, that's a potential sale. If she looked at her sales in her book, you know, let's say 1 in 10 people who visit that page are converting, we can put the value of that in there. And then we can actually say, you know, if someone went to Amazon to buy this book, how many goals of that have actually been completed? So it's start with a question. It's usually what I like to say is kind of one of the golden rules with analytics. The data can be manipulated in so many different ways, but if you have a question in mind, you know, how many people are going to buy my book? That's a good place to start, and then you can start manipulating the data in that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay.
Ask questions in the comment section. We don't have it on streaming, but I mean, we have it open on another computer now.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll actually, I think it'll show up when comments come in.
You have to go. Yeah.
Do I have to be on here?
I don't know.
As we try to figure out Facebook Live from desktop, which is just so much, it's interesting. Okay, so the next question that we had here is, what is SEO?
That's another good question. SEO.
Like, where do I...
SEO is a very, very big topic, and so I'm going to try and break it down into a nutshell. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and basically there's a long, scammy history of SEO dating back to when Google basically had, even before Google, actually, I guess it'd be on Yahoo and all that stuff. So like, it goes way back to like the birth of the internet. I'll spare you the gory details of all that, but basically that's where the whole scammy SEO thing comes into play. It's mostly from the history of it. But search engines like Google and Yahoo and Bing, they're all doing a really great job of trying to clean up all that spam because the way they're building their algorithms is that you can't quite cheat the system as best as you could, 10, 15 years ago in its infancy. So search engines themselves, and what search engine optimization is, it focuses on what I found is kind of twofold. One being the technical aspect of your website and the content that you're writing. And I'll kind of go into each one separately. But the technical side, if I pull up Sagan's website here, is basically the code. It's that. It's one of the biggest things right now is page speed loads in SEO. And so trying to get the website to go as fast as you possibly can. Ideally, you want to try and be in between a minute, that'd be way too much. Be a second or less. If you're in within 2 or 3 seconds, it's good, but it's not the greatest. I think people have a tendency to leave after about 7 seconds. And I've tested it a few times myself on other websites, and it seems to be like 7 to 8 seconds on a web page is pretty much, that's it. If they're not finding the content they're looking for, it's kind of moot.
Which is an interesting point from both from a standpoint of you want your page speed to be really good, but you also want the navigation of your site to be extremely clean and straightforward, so that if people are on it and they're waiting for it to load, or if they're on it and even if it loads fast, if your website is not easy to navigate within 7 seconds, then that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So the technical side is, there's ways you can kind of track this stuff, and I've got a little tool up here that I think you guys would like. It's called GT Metrics, and this is a really good tool to kind of analyze your page speed loads. So if I put Sagan's website in here, it'll analyze it for free, which is fantastic. It's a really great tool to be able to find opportunities in your website. So we got 4 jobs ahead of us, so we got some time to talk. But to be able to identify the issues, and I think with Sagan's website, 2 issues we've identified is the image sizes. Images are going to be a huge bulk of the load because
Sorry.
No, go. I was gonna say the images themselves. You can have a very beautiful shot of if you're doing any fashion blogs or anything like that. You want it the highest quality image, but it's going to take so long to load, especially if you're on a mobile phone.
Yeah. So, and this was a big problem that I had, where we were getting, I got these really amazing shots of myself, for the fashion blog sort of component, and we were using this really good camera that my partner has, and I wasn't resizing the pictures before, hey kitty, before putting them up on my site. So this has definitely been a big problem, and I've had my blog for 9 years now. So I didn't use images for the first 5 or 6 years, I think, but then there was a long period of time where I was just putting things up, and I had no idea that images were a problem for that. So. And
if you look at their little report here on the side, you can see F grade for scaled images.
Yeah.
So with the amount of images right now that is on Sagan's blog, to go back, it takes a lot of time to go back and rescale those.
Really, yeah. That's a huge job that I will eventually have to do. But
So that's a big one. Even if you're just starting out your own business or your own website, highly recommend starting with optimizing your images.
Yes. Yeah, start it out, because you don't want to have to be in my position where you have to go back through years worth of content to try to fix things, because it's a huge pain.
It is such a huge undertaking. It takes you about a minute or 2 just to scale down an image and then save it, and it can take a long time. And obviously time is money, right? So the other thing too is so we've got an F grade here for leverage browser caching. There are tools, if you use a WordPress site, there are tools for this. If you have a web developer, they would know how to do this the best. But basically, the thing about a website, the browser, basically the browser reads from top to bottom. It's like a newspaper. So what will happen, you can't see my hand, but I guess I can do this.
There you go.
If you're looking at the page, what will happen is that it'll start at the very top. And if I open up the view source, it's going to start right here. And it's going to keep going down. and it's going to load all this information before it even hits the body tag, which, there you go, so you got begin body. So you got 90 lines of code it's got to already load before the website even gets to show up. From there, it's going to start rendering everything from, again, continuously top to bottom. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your content comes up first, images second, and then your JavaScript third. Again, a developer can do this. It's a specific skill that unfortunately... Sorry,
so
buddy.
Cute.
Yeah. So the thing about your website, and if you have a web developer, if you have a web developer who can actually do this for you, it definitely would be a huge help. If you don't have one, would highly recommend going to networking events just to introduce yourself.
The cat is just making. I don't know if this is being picked up on the microphone or not, but.
Yeah, go to networking events. Squarespace, I think, might even have their own. I'm not sure if you've looked into Squarespace at all, but their own support help. They might be able to do that for you. They also would likely have the themes that they have would probably already be designed for this. WordPress, you have to worry a little bit more because it is open source. But those are kind of the big three when thinking about SEO in a technical aspect. And now the content aspect, which is the second pillar, is focusing on basically your content. I'm just going to open up one of Sagan's website or one pages here, if I can find. Yeah, we'll go to blog. I guess I have to update this too. I'm also helping Sagan with their website, and so obviously I've neglected it a little bit, and I feel terrible. But
it's all good. No worries.
So the content aspect, thinking about the content, I mean, obviously I should be looking at Google Analytics. Let's do that. Google Analytics has a really good tool where you can actually see all the pages of your content and see what's performing at the best levels. And so looking at the pages in January, for example, we've got the top 4 ways to edit your own writing, which is pretty sweet. So we'll open that up. Sorry.
10,000 shares on Pinterest.
Yeah, really. Yeah. There we go. Oh, I guess you kind of can't see that because I'm blocking it. There we go. That's actually really good. So this is a really good piece of content, like 2015, which is still serving as one of the top hits. So if we wanted to look more on the we wanted to look at the search engine aspect. If we click on this and then actually break it down into search engines, so if I go default channel grouping, social obviously being one. So there's no SEO on this, which is at least no one's coming from this page, I guess so.
Well, and again, like this was this was 2015.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It's a short article, right? Like I expect what happened here. So I learned how to use Pinterest as a result of Ruth Sukup from Elite Blog Academy, which is an amazing, amazing program. And before that, I hadn't used Pinterest at all, so I only started using it a little bit over a year ago, I guess. And it's kind of revolutionized my blog. But I think in this kind of situation, I mean, the interesting thing to me about Pinterest is just how my pins are decent, right? But if one person who has huge amounts of followers happens to repin your pin, I think that's when it gets to this point, right? Because I have a lot of other really great articles that are, to be honest, probably a lot better than this one particular article. But I think what probably happened is that someone with a huge following repinned this one pin, and it's just sort of gone from there, right? So it continues to get that. But there's no SEO in it. Like I haven't, it's a fine piece of content. It's certainly not one of my best.
It's a fine piece of content.
It's a fine piece of content.
So what I was trying to do while she was talking was basically look for ideas around the content itself. And so if I do page... So right now I'm in the acquisition source medium, so this will actually break down every source and medium for your content. And I broke it down even further using a secondary dimension of looking at the pages. Mm-hmm. So where we saw that piece of content, writing, was all Pinterest.
Yeah.
There was no SEO aspect to it whatsoever. But in January, our top hit was substitution for protein powders, which is a very interesting, like, obviously, depending on the channel you're looking at, the page could be, your top hit page could be different by channel, right?
Yeah. And I think especially with something like that, I mean, the amount of people who would really be searching for substitution for protein powders, I mean, it probably wouldn't be anything like it's not like there's going to be so many people looking for this one particular thing, right? Which I think is why it ends up being so much higher. Yeah. Right?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I want to just give a bit further in terms of keywords and keyword analysis. And I'll do an example on my website because I have a really good article. Not to plug that,
but your articles are amazing, Dan.
That wasn't meant to be terrible, but good plug. Yeah. So basically, if you look at the organic keywords in our acquisition, you can see some of the keywords like this one's spam, and I only know that because of you don't talk about share buttons. But advantage of letter writing, improving inter-office communication, 10-day green smoothie cleanse results. Like, these are all keywords that she is actually focusing on and wants to focus on.
Well, I have in the past anyways.
Yes, I should say.
And I think the very interesting thing about this is that these pieces that are all on here, that are like basically like top drivers or whatever, right?
Yeah. Well, these are your top keywords.
Yeah, these are my top keywords. None of these things are things that I ever was like, yes, I specifically want people to come to my website as a result of looking at these keywords, right? Because I have not really been paying attention to keywords until like the past year. Like, again, I've been blogging for like 9 years. I should really understand all this and like do all of it, but I've only really started to actually pay attention in the last little while. So it's kind of interesting to look at this type of thing and realize that certain things are so much higher. Like the dramatistic pentad was when I was talking a lot about rhetoric, because I have a degree in rhetoric, which is basically a degree in critical thinking skills. But I was talking a lot about what I was learning at the time, and I still occasionally get emails or comments on that blog post from university students being like, oh, can I like use this article that you wrote in like for a class project? And that, like, it's kind of hilarious. Cool. Yeah. But it's interesting, like the way that the keywords work, and that sometimes, like, if you haven't, like, up until now paid attention to how you use keywords, then you might discover that there's, like, some weird things that come up, and you're like, I didn't even know this was a thing. Yeah. Right? Like, the substitution for protein powders. I wrote about that once. Like, yeah, and it's, like, my big thing. People love it. I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah, so, like, that's a good point. Yeah. Being able to use these keywords to kind of drive more content and more traffic. But it also, too, it'll tell you basically what kind of keywords you're showing up for. So in this case, I have a few things I want to talk about. Keywords, the not provided, which a lot of people see, and I've seen it in questions before.
Yeah.
What is the not provided? Basically, if you go to Google and you see this HTTPS at the top here, that means your activity is encrypted. And therefore, any traffic that's coming back to Google Analytics, so if I saw saganmorrow.com on Google and I went there, maybe I typed in advantage of letter writing or something like that, and I clicked on it, even though I have my content encrypted, it's not going to pass along the keyword, which is unfortunate because that that information's good to have. But Google does provide another tool, and in case you're not using it, I would highly recommend doing so. It's called Webmaster Tools. And so your Webmaster Tools can actually show you the past 90 days of specific keywords and kind of what's driving traffic to your site from Google. So you can see the queries. So there you go. In terms of the queries and the clicks that are actually being driven, protein powder leading the way, man.
Because I just, that's so much. Well, it's just hilarious because I was doing lifestyle blogging for so long, and then this past summer, all I do now is business blogging, and yet, And I'm working on like the SEO and everything, but it just takes so much longer.
Resident Evil Feminist.
Oh, that is a great article, actually. I'm really proud of that one. I wrote some pretty good feminist articles for a while, and one of them was feminism in the Resident Evil movies, which is basically my favorite movies ever because Resident Evil is amazing.
But what's interesting here is that
people actually looked for it.
People searched for it. So
that makes my heart so happy.
They must have known about it.
Yeah.
You know, you can see the impressions, you can see the clicks that are driving traffic. Oh, but not a lot, but I mean, you can, position your 2.6 if someone types in Resident Evil Feminist.
Oh.
I'm just straight up curious. Nope.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So your average is 2.6, so for me it's a little bit lower.
That's really cool.
But yeah, that's, there you are. Because you are using the words Resident Evil Feminism and Feminist. So that's interesting.
That is really interesting. So I have a question for you now.
Sure, yeah.
So this is like a lot of my lifestyle stuff that's coming up. And again, like I only started really doing business-specific content within less than a year. And really focusing heavily on that. Mm-hmm. So is part of the problem for why it hasn't really been coming up in search terms and it isn't my driving pieces, is it because it's still fairly new content for Google and Google prefers the older content?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
So one of the issues that would be for your website is that you have specific to your website is you use a lot of lead pages and stuff like that, right? So a lot of your traffic that you're sending, so if I go to your actual website, and if I click on e-courses, for example, you're driving traffic away from your domain.
Right.
So therefore, this domain is now getting the authority as opposed to your existing SaganMorrow.com. So...
Oh, and then if you click on get the free workbook, that will bring up the link right there.
Oh, yeah.
That will bring up a lead pages. So is that...
Yeah, so that's...
lead box.
So that there is not necessarily... it has some... But it's not the main driving of content. This is basically a side piece.
Right.
Yeah, if I go to your business... So this content here would definitely be a part of it. And it's going to show up. But I think one of the biggest issues, and looks like I need to do some edits to your site, mostly at this view. One of the big things I would say is that, this is great content. This is content that is going to show up in Google.
Right.
But the problem is that any of the content that you're driving out, for one, is not, you're driving traffic out to lead pages and stuff like that, so that's not going to be helpful for your SEO. Mm-hmm. The other thing, too, is backlinks. And backlinks is a big thing, which I didn't actually talk about in the first time that we did this. Mm-hmm. Backlinks, anyone who's driving traffic back to your website. So the internet works in more of I like to call it a democracy. Mm-hmm. There's basically, if someone's linking back to your website, that's a vote basically a vote of authority. So there's a lot of authority behind your, smoothies, your protein powders, your healthy stuff, because it has been there for years.
Mm-hmm. So it has had the opportunity to build up a lot of backlinks.
Correct.
Okay.
I've got a really good tool for everyone. As soon as I remember it. There we go. Open Source Explorer. So Moz.com, and as well as SearchEngineWatch.com and SearchEngineJournal.com, those are really great sources if you want to learn more about SEO. But Moz.com has a really great free tool that allows you to look at the backlinks coming back to your website. So if I put SaganMorrow.com in here, so here you got domain authority of 28 out of 100, which is really, it's pretty good. It's basically 1/4. Yeah, no spam score, which is great. Your page authority is up to 40 almost. You've got 2,000 links coming back to your site from 52 different domains. Mm-hmm. So here there's a few different ways. These are no follow links, so they don't provide any authority back to you. But if I were to sort link equity,
Ooh.
let me take a look at some of the links that are coming back to your site, for example. Healthline.com is giving you SaganMorrow.com as an authority. I'm linking back to you, apparently. Yeah, it's just so it can kind of give you an idea. So Cranky Fitness, if you go on that page, 2008. So that's an old link, right?
Yeah.
So somewhere on here, we've got a link back to your website.
Right.
Not sure where it's at, but it's giving you authority, back to that page or whatever it is. So backlinks is another big part of the content piece. Being able to work together with other bloggers or whoever it is in your industry to bring links back and get that link authority. The other thing, too, with your website is because you're shifting your business plan, right?
Yeah.
You're now shifting from a lifestyle blogger to a freelance coach. So those could be two different things in Google's eyes.
Right.
So a freelance coach and business coach and all that stuff is in a separate group of, talking about healthy and living and that kind of thing. So you're either a health living coach or you're a freelance coach. So there's
so
some,
Google doesn't really understand what's happening. So
yeah. It's like saying you're getting a backlink about a Britney Spears song, and you're talking about I don't know, food, for example. That's the worst thing. Like you got music and you got food, right?
Yeah.
There's like two different things that it's like, well, they're looking at, because Google looks at backlinks and whether or not they're spammy and whatnot. So it's going to look at the type of link and whether or not it's related to the content that you're writing about. Otherwise, it looks very weird that you're getting this Britney Spears link or Oakley link, and it's not coming back to your food block or whatever.
Right. This is the problem with only having one place where I've put like 9 years worth of content.
So one of the recommendations I had to Sagan was that we're going to split it out.
Yeah.
We're going to split out the business stuff into a new subdomain or domain per se, and leave all the healthy stuff kind of where it used to be. So now you're not getting the conflict of the two. And if you're building a brand new domain, if you're starting a whole new website, you don't have any domain authority yet because it's a brand new website. So being able to share that content on blogs and and on social media, and someone else blogs back to you, that's great.
Yeah, and basically like what it comes down to is like being a good person and building community and that kind of thing, right? And then it happens very organically and naturally where people are sharing your content and linking back to it. Yeah, so but I mean, it certainly takes time, and you can be more active and I don't want to use the word aggressive about it, but like you can be more sort of like forward about it, I guess, where you can actually connect with people and like choose to do these types of things. But it is nice when it just sort of happens naturally, where people just love you and it just connects with them and your content aligns, and then they share it as a result. So
I was just whoops. I was double checking to see if we had any comments.
Do we? I've been trying to check over here, but I'm not sure if it's like set up for.
No,
we're good.
No comments yet.
Excellent. Okay. If you have any questions,
yes, definitely leave them below. So that's kind of SEO in a nutshell. I mean, that was kind of a long-winded response, but.
I feel like we covered a lot with that, though. That was really good.
Again, if you have any other questions, you can reach out to me, dannicholson.ca right now, CoffeePowered.ca in the future. It'll actually redirect you to dannicholson.ca. And yeah, reach out, or reach out to Sagan, and definitely shoot her some questions, and she can relay them to me.
Yes.
And
I'll be like, I don't know the answer to this.
Yeah, so that's why we're doing these.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the question. What is SEO, right? What is
SEO? That is the best we could probably do in like a short time frame.
Okay. So the next question we have here is, how can I improve my SEO, my search engine optimization?
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, you can definitely use Google Analytics. I mean, we kind of touched a bit about it.
I feel like we maybe already talked about that one.
Yeah, I mean, Well, I can. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll just
have other.
I'll just reiterate.
Totally.
Definitely check out your acquisition and your campaigns, and take a look at the keywords. Wherever I had it, I forget. Google Webmaster Tools. Set that up. That'll give you your queries, which is fantastic. And it'll even tell you. Yeah, another one actually I forgot to mention was it'll tell you your errors. If you have any errors on your website. Crawl errors. So, those are your 404 errors, and we're starting to see an increase, and Sagan knows this, but we're working on it.
Well, and one of the things that I do have set up, and I don't know if you know this, and I don't know what you're going to think about it, but like I have...
it's interesting.
I have set up my 404 pages. Whenever there is a 404 error, it goes to a lead page that I have set up that basically is like, oops, this is an error. There we go.
There you go.
We have, it's super cute.
That is.
There's like a little, there's a little box so you can get like the free Freelancing 101 mini course. And then there's like the navigation tab at the bottom that has like, you can click on the blog, you can click on my about page.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
It's very good because if someone gets here and they're like, oh man, where is all this stuff? But you have a really good, you have a way to get back to where you need to go.
Exactly, yeah. Because the regular 404 pages are not very nice. They're just like, oops. And
yeah.
It's like, ew, it's kind of ugly.
I think if I do mine, I don't even think I have. Oops. Can't even spell my own name. I think mine's, yeah. Yeah, there you go. You can search, and then, it's got a nice little newsletter sign up here, which you should sign up.
Yes.
But, yeah, you can use this tool to see exactly where these 404s are going, and then you can redirect them using a 301 redirect. There's a whole list of error codes you can look up. Google HTTP. I'll even show you. HTTP error codes. Or even status codes. There's a good wiki list. It'll tell you everything you need to know about error codes. 301 and 302 are redirects that you should focus on for SEO. 301 means permanently moved. I'll even scroll down. 301, permanently moved, so this content will never exist again, so I'm bringing you back to another page. 302 is, I guess they're calling this found, but also known as temporarily moved. So if you have a piece of content that you need to take down for a little bit and then bring it back up at a later date, it might be weeks or years from now, at least you're still getting the authority back from those backlinks. If you redirect a backlink, so if I'm linking to Sagan's website and then she removes this piece of content but brings it back to her front page as a 301, she still gets the authority from my website. She'll take a small hit, but not too bad. Otherwise, it's better than a 404 error.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, definitely use Google Webmaster Tools, use your Google Analytics, use this Open Site Explorer to get an idea of where your backlinks are coming from. And definitely check out Moz, Search Engine Watch, and SearchEngineJournal.com.
There are a lot of places to go to.
There is a lot of places to go to.
Okay, what do we have here? All right, so that was how can I improve my SEO?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay, so the next question we have here is how do I update my website to help with SEO?
How do I update my website? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, actually you can. It all depends on... sorry, I had to think about that for a second. It depends on the system that you're using. If you're straight up building it, which I highly doubt you are. If you are, good for you. But if you're using WordPress, there's some really great plugins. Yoast SEO.
I love Yoast.
Yoast is a fantastic tool. Basically, it's a plugin, and it'll help you walk through everything you need to know about SEO. Definitely, there's courses, which is great. He's done a really great job with this. So, focusing on your keyword content, your post title, or your titles and your meta descriptions, that kind of thing. The readability, everything you need to know about SEO is in this plugin. So, if that's the first thing you do when you install your WordPress website, get this app or plugin, I guess.
Yeah.
From there, if I think Squarespace has their own SEO stuff, but I can't really say for sure. Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I'm not too familiar
I was
with it.
just playing with Squarespace the other day, and I know a lot of people love it. I wasn't a big fan because I felt like I didn't have a lot of control over things. I felt like I can do a lot more with WordPress, and I like being able to like manipulate things. Like, but if you're starting out, I hear Squarespace is really good. But
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of it though. Squarespace websites do look very pretty, but going back to the purpose of this was I've been playing with it, and I didn't find anything about SEO in it, like built in.
That's good to know.
I mean, I've only been playing with it for a little while, so I couldn't speak to that. But
even if you are using Squarespace, I'm sure at the very minimum you can definitely focus on the keywords, and you can definitely focus on your titles and your meta descriptions, which are the kind of the top two here. And I'll show you what it looks like.
And like alt images on your picture, on your images.
Yes.
Like, or the alt tags in your images.
There is a lot of things you could do. I just realized as we're talking about it, this is supposed to be like an introductory. There is a lot of stuff you can do. At the very least, focus on the titles and the content you have. So if I go back to your post here, this here is your main. So think of it as a newspaper, and you've got your article, and you've got your headline, you've got your sub-headlines, and then you've got your actual body content. So making sure that your headlines include the keywords that you want to rank for, basically, as an H1 tag. If you're not familiar with the H tags, they go in a sequential order from 1 to 6. You should always have one H1 tag on every page. Never duplicate it.
And the H1 tag is the title, is it not?
It is typically the title if you're using a theme. If you're using any WordPress theme or even imagine Squarespace, it should already have it ready for you. But when you're writing your content, and as you're writing your body content, so down here, where 5 questions to ask yourself, these could be H2, H3, H4 tags. Doesn't quite matter at this point, as long as it's more for stylizing. As long as you have an H2 or below, as long as you don't have 2 H1 tags, that's bad news. You're gonna have a bad time. Sorry. So, H2 to H6, those are gonna be your subheadings. Using those subheadings will allow you to describe the next paragraph of content. And I like how Sagan has it set up that you have a headline, and then you start talking about that content, and then you have a headline and content. If I'm giving you my example, I did not do that, which I don't know why I didn't. It's a very short article, so I mean it's not a lot there.
Yeah.
But what I probably should have done was create, if you're still reading this post, and then a subheading saying more about bounce rates or anything like that. Like I should have broken up. So that's probably the number one thing you can do for your SEO efforts. Think about the user, and all else will follow. Golden rule that I tend to live by. If you're writing your content, focus more so on the keywords that, like we can see here. Like we've got the cleanse and stuff like that. So whatever your article's about, make sure that you want to, basically, if someone's going to type that into Google, that's what's going to show up. So we saw Resident Evil feminism. Already it was in, even if I bring it up again, I'll just show you a breakdown. Where'd it go? There it is. It was in the URL. It's in the title.
And it's in the meta description twice.
And it's in the meta description. So yeah, feminism in the Resident Evil movies. So it's not feminist Resident Evil feminist. That's what someone searched. But Google's smart enough to know that feminism is feminist. It's similar. I should say it's the same thing. Now I'm just digging myself in a hole. It's not the same thing, yes. It's, but it is in the realm of a topic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so this one here, unfortunately, doesn't have a full. It doesn't use H2 to H3 tags. So that's something to consider. But yeah, also having it in your URL is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And making sure your URLs are human readable.
Right.
is a big one.
Yes, yeah. So if you click the back button, I think that this is another interesting component, the number of results, right, that comes up. So so this article that I'd written was November 2015, right? So it's had some time to like bump its way up. But one of the really interesting things that I found that I was pretty pumped about, last month I wrote an article on business planning tips for solopreneurs, and it's already quite high up when you search that on Google. And again, it's because there's not a lot of results for it, right? So it ends up, so it's a good way to like, try that. It'll be probably tips. Yeah, because it was like planning tips specifically.
Oops.
But
oh, you got a Google Plus in there.
Nice.
I forget exactly.
Oh, maybe it was a different.
I forget exactly what.
Yeah,
it was.
It might have been a different article then. But it was really interesting that happened somehow within like the last month. You know, that it was already on the first page of Google, which isn't super typical for my content.
So here you can actually search for your content in Google Analytics if your questions. So there you go. You can actually see.
I was not aware of that. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So your business planning tips for solopreneurs.
There we go.
And so I break it down into channel. So we can actually see, so social, direct, so you had one organic search, but looks like no one's really searching for it.
Okay,
but you are up there, though.
One, then. Yeah.
You know? So people are, one person, I guess, came through, but, you know, if you're up in Google like that, you know, also think about what people want to read about and stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, like what are people searching, right? Like those are important things.
And if you're looking at keyword analysis, I think Yoast has the ability to do it, but Google, you know, just search in Google keyword analysis, and then you can find some tools that can help you there. I tend to use the Google AdWords keyword planner. There's some other free stuff out there you can use as well to kind of give you an idea of what topics to write about.
Yeah.
If you're struggling for ideas.
Yes.
I'll even just give you an idea of what I'm currently working on. Oops. Which is a how-to tips for setting up Google Tag Manager for the first time. So in this case, I'm thinking of, you know, someone who's for the first time trying to set up Google Tag Manager. So Google Tag Manager tips, or how to set up Google Tag Manager. So I'm thinking of the person who's having that issue, and so I'm writing the content related to it. And I'm currently doing this.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I can't speak to what kind of content or how it's going to fare, but one of the biggest things that I've seen in my history, my best article was... Hello. Best article that I've ever written was how to pass the Google Analytics exam.
Ooh.
And that today, I wrote it like 3 years ago, and today it's still getting traffic and PDF downloads
Super
and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. So sometimes you'll get those really nice pieces of articles that live on, as we've seen with Sagan's as well.
Yeah, and like I only write evergreen content at this point. Like rather, like making sure that it is actually still relevant years and years down the line, right? Because that's basically ideal.
That's another thing too to remember when you're writing for SEO and writing for your content.
Yeah.
So, like I said, SEO. Focus on the user. The rest will follow. You can definitely find articles out there that will help you if you're interested in it. Some of the tools that I showed you today, and use your analytics just to kind of figure out what keywords and what content is driving your traffic. So if it's protein powders, if that's what she was still writing about, there's a market, you know. Maybe there's an idea for someone else if you want to take it. Protein powder, run with it. So.
And I definitely find that, like, for myself, there's so many things I want to blog about and talk about and everything like that. And for me, one of my big issues is that I'll have an idea that I'm like, I want to write an article on this, and I can't really think of like a good string of keywords for it, or, you know, but I still want to write the article. So sometimes, I don't know, I find that happens for me fairly often, where I just want to create content because it's, you know, a useful idea or whatever, but figuring out how it sort of will then be sort of like how people will actually be searching for it becomes a bit of a problem. So if you can do it the other way around, that's probably going to be pretty helpful for you. If you can think about like what do people actually want and then create the content that way, it's probably going to be a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just checking to see if there's any new
For
comments,
sure.
but nothing yet. So
We're good?
Yep.
Okay.
So we can keep going with any more questions we might have.
Cool. Okay. All right. So our next question is why use Google Analytics rather than the built-in WordPress or Squarespace Analytics? We haven't talked about that, right?
We haven't
okay.
actually. So that's a fascinating one because I've grown up with Google Analytics. It's just my go-to, I guess, service. I mean, it's no different than WordPress or I imagine Squarespace. I mean, I don't have a lot of knowledge in that area, but I think one of the biggest things to kind of think about is that with WordPress you have content or you have plugins. So I think you said there's plugins for
Yes.
analytics and stuff.
Yes.
That plugin could very well not be updated very often, or there could be errors or anything like
Yeah.
that. I'm not saying there is errors, but I mean, you never know. Squarespace, I mean, they're focusing more on designing a website that's easier for you to use. With Google, in my opinion, and take it with a grain of salt, but I mean, they're building their website, or they're building a tool for businesses that currently is being sold at, I think it's $150,000 a year for like the pro plan. So, I mean, they're going to focus all their efforts on this tool, so it's always gradually updating, especially with the sidebar, which had currently just updated this week, I think. So they're always updating, but that isn't to say you can't run both. You can always have one running and then have the other one running as well, and you can always cross-check your numbers. So if there's an error somewhere, you can kind of figure out, okay, well, why is this number not showing up the same as this one in terms of like page views or something like that, which may help you understand, something's set up incorrectly, maybe something is not reporting right. There's ways you can kind of deduct from that. So I mean, you might get a bit of a ding on your page speed loads, which we talked about in SEO, but I mean, to have something, if you have both running at the same time, again, you can double check your numbers. But yeah, in my opinion, Google Analytics is kind of the way to go. Again, because it's so well established, it's been around for so long, and they're constantly updating it.
Which is very helpful.
Yeah, I don't know if you have any opinion on if you use any others, but
I mean, Google Analytics is very robust, right? Like, there's so much in there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that'd be my reasoning as to why to use Google Analytics over the others. But I mean, again, don't feel like you can't use both unless something says you can't. Unless it says don't run this because of this, and it's going to screw up your website. But I highly doubt it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So, my focus in business is really helping. Like when I'm teaching my students, I'm really focusing on, how to help these people who are very busy manage to do things in a small amount of time. And like my Facebook group, Begin Your Biz, is all about that, right? We have these 15-minute daily action items so that people can actually make progress with their business in just 15 minutes a day. So the question we have here is, if you had like 15 minutes in a week to use Google Analytics, what is the best way to make use of it?
Okay. I would say there's probably 3, maybe 4. We'll give you 4. 4 things you could probably do within 15 minutes. The first one, which I've already kind of touched on, is your all traffic channels. In my opinion, this is kind of where I think things start to bring you down a rabbit hole. I'm not sure if I mentioned, but one thing I love about Google Analytics is that because there's so much data, to ask yourself a question and kind of go into it. I think I may have actually said it. But I find this is kind of the first thing that I always check. I want to see my digital marketing channels, and I want to see kind of where everyone's coming from and what are they looking at. So I think this is a great view if you're looking at the side here, to look at the channels and then look at your goal completed. If you have goals set up, it definitely helps. It's all in one quick view, and you can manipulate it in dates in any way you need. Then you'll start to kind of like process a bit more questions and like, well, what's happening in social? I'm really curious. Or what's happening in my referral? You know, what kind of links are coming back to me? The second one that I would probably take a look at is your site content. Especially if you're just writing a brand new piece of content that week, or you've written a few and you've launched in the previous week. So let's say every Monday morning, going in, so they have a nice little, you know, I want to see what the last week looked like. You know, so you wrote those pieces of content, and here's what your top performing pieces of content were. So you've got your, obviously this one's an old one, so it's still going to keep running. So what you may need to do is search for
I actually have one that's like recent, which is great. Two that are, well, fairly recent.
Which ones are those?
Small business coaching, number 7 and number 9.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
So you may need to search for them if you have like a lot of content running. But yeah, I mean, so you can also drop down exactly which ones you need. And so here's really nice. So if I went to number 7, I can actually click on it and then expand it out. And then if I'm really curious, I can actually go back to my channels, for example. So if I did channel grouping, or maybe I can look at keywords. So yeah, if I look at that, or maybe I want to take a look at the keywords that are kind of driving traffic. Not set, not provided, unfortunately. So there's a lot of different a lot of different things here that you can kind of go through and kind of manipulate the data in any way. Maybe I can take a look at the shared URL. Yeah, so what's being shared amongst, you know, this actual piece of content. What's also good too in this view is you can see how long people are staying. So 13 minutes. I mean, I don't know how long this piece of content is, but if you're...
It's like 1,000 words.
Yeah, so I mean, like that's quite a long time. Not to mention, you know, people are commenting, which is nice. So if you ever have any questions, you can always see, like... you can download a plugin to see what kind of, yeah.
You're like, don't download another plugin.
Yeah, don't do that. But I mean, Instagram has a really good, not Instagram, Instapaper. There we go. Has a really good tool where you can see how long it takes to read a piece of it. I'm not going to sign in, I guess. Oh, maybe I can. There we go. So if I were to add this piece of content. I don't know if it'll show me this. No. There's a... Sorry, I'm kind of blanking on it. Oh, there we go. So 4 minutes remaining. There we go.
Okay.
It was just hidden. If you take a look at Instapaper, and it'll tell you kind of estimated how long it would take to read. And then take a look at, you know, the time that's being spent on your page, which here is 13. Average is 7 minutes. So, I mean, you know, you can kind of deduct a little bit of... people are reading it. Maybe they're commenting or taking more time commenting. But it's over the 4 minute mark. So, like, that is a positive.
Right.
If this was more around the, you know, minute and a half, people are likely more skimming content. And so you can kind of get a better idea of, you know, how your content's faring in the past week or however long.
Interesting.
The third one I would definitely recommend is your... What was it? Oh, yeah, the goals. This is kind of a bonus one, I guess. If you have it set up.
You can probably hide that window.
Oh, this one?
Right?
Yeah, I can. There we go. That is true. So if I went back to my events. So events is a really good one because you can set them up yourself. You may need help to do this, or if you have Google Tag Manager or someone who's knowledgeable in Google Analytics, they can definitely help you out. So I've set up events on her page in terms of scroll depth and how far someone actually scrolls per page, and then if someone were to click on a link. And I find this very interesting, especially if you're trying to figure out exactly... If I actually just have to go back to... Let's do last month. So we can actually see how many file downloads there were. We can potentially even say, like, these are the things that you're going to want to download yourself. So, fitness challenge. People are downloading pictures, I guess. Not sure Big Willie light beer is, but I don't know. I'll take a look. An external URL. This is a big one because here we can actually see where people are driving, or what Sagan's website is driving traffic to, as opposed to what's bringing traffic in. And again, this isn't tracked automatically, so you have to kind of set it up yourself. But what's...
Oh, no, it's interesting that the one at the top is a link associated with an infographic that I had posted, like, I don't know how many years ago.
Yeah.
That's
interesting. So yeah, now you're getting into questions of, like, why is this thing?
Yeah,
Number one.
Pinterest probably is...
Potentially, yeah.
Right.
You can see your app converter kit, driving traffic, which is nice.
It's my free mini course.
Yep. So that, to her, is a goal. She wants to see people sign up. So driving traffic to her converter kit is a win. Joyofblending.com. And we talked a bit about this earlier today. But what's interesting about this is just a free link. Where we're talking about backlinks. She is giving joyofblending.com a backlink, and she's saying, like, this is an authority figure on Vitamix blending or recipes or anything like that. But what's interesting is that this page here is getting 38 clicks to this website. This could be very well an advertising opportunity for your media kit or anything like that. Because if I were to go to this website, or if I click on this event, for example, and I figure out exactly which page it's on. Oops. That wasn't exactly what I was looking for. I wanted page. So of the 38 potential clicks, the Healthy Vitamix Practices page is where it lives. So if I go back to our site content, which we talked about in point number 2, and I search for that, 832 page views. Of those 832 page views, 39, I think, people clicked on that link. Like, that's a really high number of conversion for that website. So you can take that information now and put it into your media kit. Not specifically this exact case study, but you can build a case study around, like, you can take a look at a sample size of all of the links that you're sending out, how many clicks there are, how many page views you have, average it out or give it a median of it, and you can say of this, 10% or 5% of all links that I push out drives traffic.
Yeah.
And
which is awesome.
Yeah, as an advertiser myself, and I'm looking for the grassroots, blogs and stuff that are related to my business. That 5% conversion rate is a huge number that I can take back to, the client, or I can take back to, to my boss or anything like that, and say, we're seeing a huge number of quality leads based off this media kit. And as an advertiser, I can start tracking that traffic on a blog's website.
Yeah.
It's all interconnected.
It is. It totally is. And it's an interesting point, too, that, so often, sponsors will want you to tell them, like, how many page views you have per month and that kind of thing. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is things like, how many people are actually clicking on the links, and who are the people that are coming to your website? Are they actually relevant to the brand? And do you have a community? And is your content high quality? Like, these are the things that actually matter. And I've managed to have quite a few sponsors for my blog, and I've managed to make quite a decent income from it. And again, you can see my blog media kit. It's all very transparent. I have how many page views I have and my social media followers, and I have how much I charge for sponsored blog posts. And I've been blogging for 9 years, and my page views are not very high at all. But sponsors, but the sponsors that I work with understand that the page views are not the be all end all, and that there's so many other things that you need to take into consideration. So, so if you're new to blogging and you want to do sponsored articles, it's not going to take you years and years to be able to do sponsored articles. You just have to be able to look at these other important metrics and talk to sponsors and have conversations with them about these pieces. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also you can use the page view total if you're writing content like that. If you're making a change on the website and anything like that, you can use these metrics to help you change your website for the better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, coming back to one of our first questions, why use Google Analytics? It's a very powerful tool, and obviously you've kind of seen what we've talked about from the start to right now of how much you can actually do. So don't get overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. Again, just kind of start with a question in mind and kind of work yourself through it. And yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So this question had been about what...
I just realized I had a bonus one for you.
Okay. Okay, so wait, can you just repeat, like, what were the
Yeah.
3 that you talked about so far?
Yeah, so the 3 I talked about.
So if you only have, like, 10, 15 minutes a week to look at your analytics, these are the top things you should look at.
In my opinion. That's just my opinion. I mean, it could
Dan's
be
an expert. Dan's really smart. You should listen to Dan.
Yeah. First off, the acquisition, all traffic channels. As you can see here on the list, the left-hand side. Your next one would be site behavior, site content, all pages. If you're definitely writing a lot of content, this may not be as prevalent to some people in the B2B, for example. Finally, set up your events. If you don't have it set up, definitely look into setting up events. If you're curious about it, Google Tag Manager, this little fun thing, it's fun. Don't get me wrong, as I keep saying it. It helps as a third point to try and get some information out of your website, things that you want to know. And the bonus one, in my opinion, is the dashboards. You can set up any dashboard you want. There's a nice little gallery from Google Analytics, and basically a dashboard is a high-level view of what's happening on your website. I don't use it because I like to use analytics more for manipulating the data. But if you're just want to quickly glance at, how many page views I had that week, where are they coming from, for example, how long they're staying, your bounce rate, whatever is important to you, you can build a dashboard for. Mm-hmm. And that would be my bonus tip.
It should be awesome to just have a nice, super quick overview of it all.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. That's awesome. So I think we only have one other question, unless any of you have questions. Mm-hmm. If you have questions about analytics, just drop them in the comments below. And then we just have one more question, which I know is a really big problem for any website owner and blogger and all these types of things. It's really about, making sure that when you are on your website, so when you're, navigating through the pages, when you're on your blog and everything like that, you don't want those page views to contribute to Google Analytics, right? Because it skews the data. So the problem that a lot of bloggers have is that, and website owners and all this, is that they'll end up still just going through their own website, doing it their own thing, and you might be on your website for 3 hours, right? You might just have it open. So then that's really skewing the data on Google Analytics. So the question is, how do you navigate that? How do you deal with that problem?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, being able to remove yourself from being skewed is from skewing your analytics, I guess. Sits in the admin settings, and this one's a little more advanced if you don't want to touch it too much. But it's going to sit under your view property. And so what you want to do is you want to remove your IP address completely from this view. A good rule is that you want to create a new view and filter it out. You don't want to remove any of the raw data. But in this case, Sagan wanted to get rid of all of her information, any skew, because she's writing on there every day. She's on there every day, so it's going to skew her results. And as an advertiser, I want to make sure that the results are as accurate as possible. So, in order to do so, it would be under filters. And as you can see here, I've already got 2 IP addresses exclude. One would be Sagan's, one's mine, because I work on the website. But if you want to add your own in there on your own website, you just give it a name. So let's say my IP address. And everything's predefined, so hopefully it'll be pretty simple. You want to exclude. You don't want to include yours. From the IP addresses, and then that are equal to. If you have multiple, you might have to do contains, but Typically, if you have a home-based office, you only have one IP address. But the way to get an IP address is basically, it's really simple. Just type in what is my IP address, hit enter into Google, and it'll pop right up at the very top. I'm not going to do it because then it'll show you what my IP address is. So I'm going to avoid that. So you take that number, copy, paste it into here, and just hit save. I'm not going to save that because we're done. And that, from then on out, you'll always have your IP address excluded from any of your content. It does not happen retroactively. So yeah. So if you have analytics running up until now from 9 years ago, and you just put that IP address in there, that's going to affect your analytics going forward. Does not affect the historical. Another thing too, if you want to make tests with events and stuff, creating a test view. You can have multiple views. You can have 25. So make sure you always have a raw view, and then maybe any filtered views that you want to do with IP addresses. And again, I do test, so this one's mostly just my IP address that's included, and that's it. It filters out everyone else's. And so if I'm building an event and then, sometimes the data might, not work as well as I wanted to, or something's going to affect something incorrectly, I don't want to affect her results. So I have this test view for myself that I can try anything, and it's not going to affect her official results. And then once I'm ready to deploy something from Google Tag Manager, for example, then it'll exclude me and it'll deploy to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of a high level. It's under admin, which is this little gear icon on the bottom, your view, filters, and you can add a quick one there. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So that was all of our questions that we had.
Yeah. I've been checking. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone's asked anything else today.
All right.
No, let me check Twitter. I don't think so, though. I highly doubt anyone would. No. Nope. We're good.
All right. Cool. We are just going to wrap this up then. I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you all had fun with this and enjoyed it. And
I apologize to anyone who tried watching the first round.
Yeah, and the unfortunate sound problem.
Yes, we found the issue, and it was our streaming software, and unfortunately we didn't hear that until the very end. So.
Yeah, so that was the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, did we talk about Dark Social?
Oh, we didn't.
Okay, we should talk about that too.
Okay.
This is the problem with recording something twice in the same day. We kind of forget about what
we talked about, what we didn't. Okay. Dark Social. A very interesting topic. If I go back into our audience members and our traffic.
You're in test view right now. Is that a problem?
It doesn't really matter.
Oh, okay.
I guess, I'll go back just for the sake of argument. Dark Social. Very huge problem amongst us digital marketers, and even from, I guess, small business owners and bloggers too.
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to go into the channels report again. If you're familiar with the whole direct or direct none, oops, we'll do this one with the source medium. This one here, direct none. In the past, it used to be that anyone who bookmarked your website or typed in your website directly, so saganmorrow.com into the browser, for example, that's what would pass this information as direct none. Today, we're seeing a lot of issues with direct traffic being skewed due to social media and the mobile phone. It's a very interesting problem because what happens is if you're on the Twitter app, for example, or if you're on the Facebook app, and you're sharing a link, or even Pinterest app, for example, if you're sharing content through those channels and someone clicks on the link on Twitter or on Facebook within their mobile app, not the browser, but the actual app themselves, like Facebook's app, it'll come through as direct none traffic or direct traffic. And we're starting to see this from a digital marketing standpoint, a lot of traffic being sent to direct none, and it's increasing year over year. So one big thing is we're trying to, digital marketers, we're trying to combat this. It's a very difficult thing to do because unfortunately you can't quite control what Facebook and Twitter apps are doing. But there is a nice little trick that we can do the best as we can, and it's called tagging your content. Some of you may be familiar with the campaign URL builder. But basically what you're trying to do is tag your content with Google Analytics readable content. So if you Google URL or campaign URL builder, Google has this really good dev app that you can use. Basically you fill out the form, what the landing page is going to be. We're using just saganmorrows.com front page. The campaign source, which could be a newsletter, Google, Twitter, Facebook, whatever you're sending it out. I highly recommend just Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest. Your medium, so this is kind of a group thing. You will kind of want to leave it similar across all channels, or not all channels, but all media type. Here they have email or banner or CPC. I tend to do social or newsletter or email, one group that I'm sending it out. And then give it a name, whatever the content is you're sending out. Campaign term you can skip. And then your campaign content. So what content are you sending out there? Once you fill this out, it gives you a giant URL. You can shorten this if you want, or you can use your own shortening tool like Owly or whatever. Bitly, yeah, whatever you want to use. It's got nice little steps exactly how to play it out. Take this and then share it out on your social media channels. In this case, Twitter. You can find already pre-built Excel spreadsheets or Google Drive spreadsheets that have it already. All you have to do is fill out a line and it'll output your content or your link. And it sounds like a lot of work.
It really does. It's like, oh.
It'll help if you're interested in tracking better content. I mean, obviously...
Which is important, really.
Exactly.
So it's like it's worth doing.
Yeah, precisely. Presumably, yeah. I mean, obviously, you're still seeing traffic from Pinterest, you're still seeing traffic from Facebook and stuff, but you're just capturing the traffic that's using their mobile phone's app,
Which, like, I mean, you look at this here, and, like, that's a lot, right? Like, 1,200 is, like, direct none out of, right? Like, out of the 10,000. So...
I'm actually just...
That's a decent amount, which, it would be very interesting to know, like... Is the majority of that from one particular social media platform within an app, right? So
yeah, something. So I'm just curious to see if. So because it is only on mobile phones, mobile being your major traffic driver, and then if I do, so I'm just making a. So I'm really curious to see and manipulate this data and to say. So of the mobile traffic, so 573 in sessions generated on a mobile phone were direct. Chances are that 573 are not typing in saganmorrow.com.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So that is 573 sessions that are from some sort of social media app. And whether or not we don't know. It's likely Pinterest, but I mean...
Well, but that would be interesting too, right? Because Pinterest is such a big generator for me, but like, what if it was Twitter or Facebook, and if I end up like changing the way that I do my social media marketing, I'm like, oh, well, it shows that I don't have a lot of traffic from Twitter, so maybe I'll take a break from it. And then if that was all coming from it, or, right? Okay, so this is interesting though. Like, what about the Instagram app? If people come from that link?
Same thing.
So that's really interesting because then if people don't actually... So when it shows it in Google Analytics from Instagram, that's basically desktop Instagram.
It would have to be. Yep.
That's fascinating. So it's...
Yep.
That's super interesting.
So you may have just seen a eureka moment right here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because, I mean, a lot of people are looking at Instagram on their phone. And so if I go back...
And that's where the Instagram business analytics comes in really handy. Like,
that is very true.
Because you can actually see how many people are clicking on your links.
So yeah, if I go back to your social, for example, and so you got 11 on Instagram.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's see.
It probably is actually pretty accurate. I don't think that I have a huge,
you got some mobile in there, I guess.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
So that might be someone saving it or potentially going into the browser.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, it could very well be that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, here we get into very interesting questions.
Yeah,
Philosophical questions of how is this being, where is this direct traffic coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the issue with dark social right now is if you definitely look up, I think I mentioned them already, but Moz and, Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Watch, and type in dark social, there's a lot of different content. Hootsuite did a nice webinar on dark social. So definitely check those out. Yeah, and I think that's all I've got on dark social.
Awesome. Okay, this is great. All right, so now I think we're done.
Yeah.
I think we talked about everything we wanted to. Okay, if you are watching the replay of this and you have more questions for us, just leave them in the comments below and we will get to them in our next alcohol and analytics video.
Yeah, definitely. I thought I had something to say to that, but I don't. Definitely reach out. I'm Dan Nicholson 204 on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I think also on Instagram, Dan Nicholson 204. DanNicholson.ca, soon to be CoffeePowered.ca.
Yes. So if you want more information on analytics and stuff like that, definitely check out Dan's stuff. I'm on Twitter and Instagram and most social medias as Sagan Lives, and you can check out my website, saganmorrow.com, for small business tips. Mm-hmm. And if you want to check out the previous 2 videos that we did for alcohol and analytics, you can check out my YouTube channel, Sagan Morrow. There's a playlist with alcohol and analytics videos.
Yeah.
All right.
Sweet.